Are you unconsciously avoiding your feelings and emotions? Are you always busying yourself, saying yes to things and people when you should be saying no? Do you have habits that once seemed healthy but are now turning into obsessions? Codependency and addiction are one and the same. They're coming from the same place. We can change and we can replace a habit with something healthier, but sometimes that healthy habit or that people pleasing turns into an obsession as well. And it's understanding the root cause of it that we can actually overcome why we're doing these things and why we're avoiding these certain things. My name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach. I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse, and I also offer twin flame and spiritual guidance. This is the thing. You know what I mean? Ask yourself this. Are you always distracting yourself? Are you always busy? Are you always needing to be doing something? Can you relax? Can you have time for yourself? Do you have silence? Do you have downtime? Are you doing things that you think are healthy but are actually turning into an obsession? And this is the thing. Like with codependent relationships or addictions, I believe codependency and addiction, they're the same fucking thing. When you become too engrossed in a relationship, a friendship, a family dynamic, when you're overdoing for somebody else, this is a way of, because this is happening because you're avoiding something within yourself. So other things like habits, addictions, you might not think you're addicted to something, but ask yourself this: how much time a day do you spend scrolling on social media? How much time a day do you spend doing things that you could be doing other things? Have you turned a healthy habit into an obsession? This is the thing. I like, for example, I really strongly believe in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. We literally rewire our brains. So like, for example, for smoking, for me, it went from being, I'm off the fags, to identifying as a non-smoker. You know what I mean? Every time I'd say I was off the fags, it was like cigarettes. I don't know what you call them fags in different countries, but like off the cigarettes, you'd literally, like, you'd be like, oh, that leaves an open window to go back on them. So you'd have to rewire your brain in order to say, I'm now a non-smoker. But oftentimes, we've been guided to replace an unhealthy habit with a different stimulus, so a healthier habit. Okay, and sometimes if we don't heal the reason why we're addicted in the first place, or why we had an unhealthy habit, we can literally replace, or we can actually start, obsessing with our new habit. So for example, you want to give up cigarettes, but you end up overeating. So you replace your one addiction with another one. Or another example, you give up cigarettes, and a way of distraction, you start overworking, you start saying yes to overtime, you start to do too much work because you're trying to distract yourself from the previous addiction. Another thing is, for example, like you come out of an unhealthy codependent relationship, and instead of facing your wounds or facing your demons, you end up back in a family dynamic where you end up codependent on your parent or your friends. Or another thing, like, I'm trying to describe some healthy habits that can turn into obsessions. You could say start doing sports, going to the gym. But then, because you're so trying to distract so much from what you were avoiding with your previous addiction, you end up going to the gym every fucking day. Every day, too much. Like, I'm all for health. I'm all for exercise. But something, what you see as healthy may turn into an unhealthy habit because you're obsessing over it. Saying yes to doing everything all the time, saying yes to people all the time, filling your calendar when your calendar is already full, doing more work, taking on more and more and more and more, because you're trying to distract. And this is so important. I've said this before. You cannot heal an addiction or an obsession or a codependency or anything unless you actually understand why you're addicted. I've seen so many people go to rehab for alcohol, and the minute they come out, they fucking relapse. For me, for example, is food, right? I had an unhealthy relationship with food. So my cure for that was out of sight, out of mind. Don't buy shit, and then you won't eat shit. But I replaced eating sweets with trying to find something else to fucking eat. So like now, if I'm going through something, and I know I still do it when I'm going through emotions or anything, I will turn to food. And now, because there's no sweets in my press, I'll eat another meal. I'll eat something savory. I'll eat something to replace what I didn't buy. So, you can go cold turkey. You could say, I'm no longer smoking a cigarette, or, for another one, for example, a cigarette, or you're not buying alcohol. but you literally replace it with something else. It's like, instead of going to the pub, I'm going to go to the gym. But then you end up going to the gym too fucking much. You know what I mean? Something turns into an obsession. And the codependent dynamic is, are you saying yes to other people? Are you living somebody else's life as a way of avoiding your own? All of these are things you can ask yourself, but ask yourself this: what are you avoiding? What are you not facing? And I've seen this so many times. You know what I mean? Like, people are literally saying yes to other things, distracting themselves on social media, doing anything except facing their demons. Like, you know, it's literally like, I'm going to spend 3 hours of my day scrolling on social media, and then I'm going to say, I don't have time to do the inner work. I don't have time to do this course. I don't have time to do this healing webinar or this workshop. I don't have time. How long are you spending on social media? How long are you spending doing things for other people when you could be doing things for yourself? You know, ask yourself these things. How long are you obsessively going to the fucking gym and saying to yourself, I don't have time for love. I don't have time to change my career. I don't have time to study. I don't have time to do anything, because I'm doing one thing over and over and over and over and over again to the point of insanity. And that's it. You know, you have to ask yourself this. Even if you say, this is a healthy habit that I adopted. Yes, but are you doing it in moderation? Or are you obsessively fixated on it? Because that's what addiction is. Are you obsessively fixated on saying yes to overtime? You know, literally working 6 days a week and giving all your money to the tax man. It's bullshit. It doesn't make sense to me. I used to do this. I used to work 60 hours a fucking week and give all my money to the fucking tax man. And I was in pain. I was in agony. I was stressed. I was tired. And shit was the thanks I got. When I went back to working 40-hour weeks, I got more money. So why would you work overtime? To distract yourself, to avoid your real life, to avoid your emotions. This is it. And like, literally, you're filling your time with work and this other healthy habit that you might have. Your whole life is full with two addictions, effectively. You are addicted to something because you're obsessively doing something that is distracting you from change, from diversion, from rerouting your life. This is the thing, like, this 9 to 5 fucking hamster wheel bullshit, that's an addiction as well. That's an obsession. And it's like, what we used to do as well is like Monday to Friday work, and Friday to Sunday it was drink. That was it. That was the be all and end all of life. My addiction was distraction through work, then distraction through drink and drugs. Do you know what I mean? It was distraction through noise, distraction through everything. And, you know, the thing with social media as well, we might think, oh, I'm not addicted to social media. How long a day do you spend stuck in your fucking phone? And you might say to yourself, I'm watching the news, or I'm watching something that's informative. Yeah, but are you giving yourself a break? Or are you constantly stuck in your phone? For me, like, it was tarot readings. I like, you know, got to a stage where I became so obsessed with them. This was when I was like early on in my journey, and I was still in this low vibration energy. I was reaching out to tarot all the time. It was morning, noon, and night. Then I reduced it to just the hour while I was cooking my dinner. But I actually cut it out completely. I'm a full week now, just over a week now, of none whatsoever. That to me was another addiction. Do you know what I mean? And I asked myself this question: why was I doing this? It wasn't that it was a healthy hobby, or I was learning stuff about the energy that was going on. It was an addiction because I was avoiding what was actually going on in my head, and I was like seeking outside myself for something else. You know what I mean? So we have to, not only do we have to remove the unhealthy habit, you have to ask yourself, what the fuck am I doing it for? You know, for example, back to scrolling, like, I was obsessively scrolling for a long time. You know what I mean? And I can say, oh, I was only looking at informative things. I was only learning. But scrolling is not the same as learning. You watch a webinar or go to a workshop. That's learning. That's an hour long. You know, you're watching the screen, you're learning, you're taking notes. Scrolling on your phone continuously, watching every fucking reel that you come across, you might learn something, but you're still obsessively stuck in a distraction energy. You're avoiding your thoughts. Like, you know, sitting in silence. Have you ever done that? Have you ever actually sat? You're like, you know, people say, I had a bit of downtime today. I do take time for myself. Did you take time for yourself without your phone? There's a big fucking difference. Like, if you're constantly on the go, busy all the time, and you're energetically drained, you're physically drained, and you're like, I need to take more time for myself. So you sit down and have coffee, but you pick up your phone. That's not rest. You know, even if you pick up a book when you're trying to do downtime, that's not rest. You know what I mean? You're literally distracting yourself from silence, from being, from what's going on within you. So what are you avoiding? What are the things that you're avoiding? A lot of the times it's our emotions. A lot of the times our core wounds. Like for me, like for example, another thing is staying up late or staying up late at night and then getting up late in the morning. This is something I used to do. And at the weekends now, I'll stay up an hour extra. Like most Monday to Sunday, I will go to bed early and get up early. But at the weekends, I do add an extra hour, and then I get up an hour extra or an hour later. But what I've noticed, if I'm actually feeling shitty, I'll stay up later as a way of avoiding going to sleep, because to avoid tomorrow coming too quickly. Because oftentimes we're so depressed over the next day because we're not actually doing the thing that's in alignment with our soul. We stay up late at night as a way of delaying how we're going to feel the next morning. So, staying up late is another obsession or another form of addiction, because you're literally avoiding the next day because you're trying to put it off. Whereas, like, going to bed, like, I know this sounds weird, but, like, I go to bed early when I feel good, you know what I mean? Where I'm not like, I don't need to drag out the day. But if I'm feeling low, and this happened over this weekend, where I wanted to stay up later, and I was like, why do you want to stay up later? And then I remembered all the times I stayed up later in the past, and I was like, it's because I'm avoiding tomorrow. I don't feel good right now, and I don't want to wake up feeling like shit. And I know that sounds weird, because there's other times that I'd actually feel like shit, and I'd actually go to bed early just to stop feeling like shit. It sounds really weird. But there's different things that we prolong, like, sitting on your phone for those extra few hours before bed. You're literally avoiding your mind, you're avoiding going to sleep. And like, people say this to me as well. I don't get to sleep early. Do you know what I mean? It takes me ages to get sleep. And I'm like, are you on your phone from the minute you sit into bed until the time you try to get sleep? And then you're wide awake with all the stimulation you're getting from your phone. And then by the time you put down your phone at 12 or 1 o'clock, you can't get to sleep. Because you're literally, for the last 4 hours, going, my mind is going crazy. Do you know what I mean? So why not remove the phone stimulus and just go to sleep? Put on a meditation, go to sleep. And another thing as well, if you get up early in the morning, you're tired enough to go to sleep at the night time. Do you know, there's so many things that you can do. Like, all of these things, people, they're excuses. I have to do this. You don't have to do anything. You're saying yes to things when you should be saying no. So ask yourself these things. Are you living somebody else's life? This is the codependent relationship. Are you saying yes to people pleasing all the time? Literally doing their thing rather than doing your own. Are you avoiding change in your own life? So whether that's to study something else, to change your career, whether that's to allow people or love into your life, are you are you unconsciously filling your calendar as a way of saying, like, unconsciously saying to yourself, if I have a full calendar, it means I have an excuse not to change. I have an excuse not to do the inner work. I have an excuse not to let love into my life. I have an excuse not to learn or change my career or do this workshop or do this course. You know what I mean? So ask yourself these questions. Are you busying yourself for other reasons? Is your busy life actually an obsession or an addiction? Are you doing stuff for others at the point of codependency to feel good about yourself, so to even avoid your own life? A lot of the times we do things for others to avoid our own lives, and this happened to me. I kept doing for somebody else, kept fucking trying to fix them, and my life went to shit. My health deteriorated. My fucking well-being deteriorated. My purpose didn't exist because I lost all sense of self doing something for somebody else. That's an obsession. That's an addiction. That's a way of unconsciously avoiding our truth, avoiding what we're supposed to be doing with our lives. If you're constantly, running around all the time, working, doing the thing all the time, if you're doing it to the point of it's taking over your life, if you're eating and sleeping and dreaming work or sport or, drink or drugs or people pleasing, all of it. If your life is chock-a-blocked with everything that you shouldn't be doing, this is a form of addiction. This is an obsessive behavior, and it only changes when you change from within. Because as I said, even if it's an unhealthy habit, you can change it into a healthy habit. But if you don't heal the core fucking wound or understand the core wound, you're going to replace it with something else. Do you know what I mean? I have to understand why I started this in the first place. So for example, back to those tarot readings, the reason I was watching them is because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my intuition. I wasn't like, I can read my own tarot, and I have clairsentience. I have clear knowing. You know, I know things before I know why I know them. But I don't trust that, so I reach for somebody else to tell me that. And I understood that the reason I was seeking outside myself for that was because I didn't trust my inner knowing. So I was able to cut off the addiction without needing a replacement for it, because I was like, literally, I understand now the thing I have to do now is trust myself. So I didn't replace the tarot with anything. Well, actually, I replaced it with music. But music is probably one of the most healthiest things that we can ever become obsessed about. You can never become obsessed about music, and that's a fact. Listening to more music than staring at your phone. Listening to more music than... Am I addicted to music now? But that's not a bad thing. Like, if, like, you know, we can become, like, you know, you can become obsessed with something, but you can reel it back. You can understand that you can actually have a healthy amount of time doing something without it actually taking over your life. So this is the thing. Understand the reason why you're doing this thing obsessively, why you're living somebody else's life or avoiding your own life. Ask yourself what you're avoiding. What feelings are you avoiding? What emotions are you avoiding? What change are you avoiding? Because there's no such thing as being too busy. There is no such thing. It's all about priorities. So are you actually prioritizing the life you're supposed to live, or prioritizing the life that is distracting you from the life you're supposed to live? So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you'd like help on your journey, please book me for a free discovery call today. Nothing more than to help you on your path. Also, I have another channel called Aligning with Angie, where I share guided meditation every week. The info for that is in the description box. And I'm hosting an inner child healing workshop this Wednesday, the 4th of March at 6 p.m. Orange UK time. A 90-minute workshop. It will be a very intensive workshop. We'll do some exercises, we'll do a hypnosis, anything in regards to low self-worth, low self-esteem, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, anything like that. And anything to do with why your core wounding, really, in regards to obsession or addiction. It can be very helpful. If you want information for that, please comment below.